Welcome writers. I'm Harule Stokes from HaruleStokesWrites.com, here to share some great information without a bunch of nonsense and BS. This video is the second step in my video series on how to write a novel for beginners. Please subscribe and hit that bell icon below so you can join the crew. Alright? No more waiting. Let's get to work. If you missed part one of this series, you can always go down and click my name, and you can see all the other ones in my small library so far. But if you do find this interesting, check out the first one. This video is actually part two of called the setup, and the setup is basically the steps you need to take to kind of give your story the foundation, and you, the writer, the foundation to kind of build a solid piece. It's much easier, in my opinion, to get somewhere if you know where you're going. And that's the point of creating a setup. All right? Now, let's start with something everybody loves. We all love the characters. So, that's the first section to this part. And now, you may want to know what's the first thing you need to figure out about the characters. Well, figure out who you're writing about. Who or even what is telling this tale. Just to note, your protagonist doesn't have to be the person telling the story. As from the first part of the series perspective, number 3, whatever, your writing can be directly from the character's mouth and mind, or you can use a third party to tell the story as if they were like a fly on a wall. Following around the hero and kind of documenting what he did. But you gotta identify who's telling the story. It doesn't have to be a hero again. Like I think of Sherlock Holmes. He's a prime example of a secondary character telling the main character's story. It's actually Watson who's telling the story, not Holmes. Now, once you identify that person, you can start thinking about the antagonist. If you have the protagonist, you can figure out the antagonist. It doesn't have to be a bad guy. I think that's something that people don't try to get. Your antagonist doesn't have to be bad. He or she is simply in the protagonist's way. In fact, your antagonist can be the good guy, and your protagonist to be the bad person. And it's kind of, but it's who's stopping your hero from doing what he wants to do, or your protagonist. In fact, your protagonist can be a serial killer, and your antagonist to be the cop, hell bent on capturing that nutcase. So, as for a villain, he's just some asshole who does bad stuff. Doesn't have to be the one opposing it. So, find your characters and find your main ones, and then build your other characters around your antagonist and protagonist. That'll help you kind of flesh it all out. And once you have your people and you know what they are, create a character attribute list. That's number 2 in this series. In this part setup, right? So you have to know what your characters look like, and not just in your head. Write that shit down, because this is a great way to make sure you're consistent. And each time you address that character, you'll know for a fact how to describe them. And it's not stuck in your head somewhere. You actually know. I mean, like the hair, skin tone, whether they're fat, skinny, muscular, wimpy, whatever. Just make sure you give them life. In each aspect of your character, it'll be a huge help when you're developing your character's personality, to kind of know what they look like. And environment. You gotta get a good environment down. What I mean by that? That's actually part 3. You have to figure out where your story is taking place, as that would have a huge impact on how your characters act, respond, and deal with each other. Like for instance, if your character is a biker, he wouldn't enjoy being stuck in a cubicle. If a character is a farmer, he wouldn't want to be in a concrete jungle in New York City. So utilize the environment like you would a character in and of itself, and have your characters interact with the environment. That helps the environment to breathe, and it gives some life to your characters and your story, because it grounds everything on this environment. So make sure you figure that out, because environment is hugely important. Now, here's something that has somewhat a bone of contention amongst writers, and that is plotting and pantsing. So basically, how you're going to write the story. And that's number 4 to this one. So a plotting person, like myself, is someone who makes an outline. It kind of gives a foundation to the writing. It gives an outline for me. Really makes it it concretizes the thoughts for me, and it gives some structure to it. And I don't make a detailed outline. I kind of just do chapters and do beats in each chapter, like the places I have to go, things I have to hit, points I have to make. That's how I do it. Other people do super detailed outlines that are just massive. And then you have pantsing. Now, that basically means writing by the seat of your pants. In other words, no outlines at all. You just go. And you just manage to go from point A to point B, all the way to Z. All just spur. Actually, Stephen King writes like that, from what I understand. He kind of just goes. But, to each their own. But I suggest, no matter what, try both paths. See what works for you. You don't have to stick to one or the other. Try them both. Do an outline. If it doesn't work, then just write. See how that goes. All right? And finally, is the equipment. I know it sounds strange, but some people actually can't write on a computer. It doesn't feel good to them, so don't do it if it doesn't feel good to you. I like to write on my computer. But if you have a pen and pad always available, you're ready to capture those things right away. Boom, boom. You're always ready. As opposed to me, I have to hit the computer and make it happen. So that's not easy. Now, of course, you can't submit handwritten notes to your publisher. That would be weird. They wouldn't take it. So you have to transcribe it. While on equipment, I like to also point out that you have programs like Scrivener, those are super popular. Scrivener is super popular with writers. I don't use it because I have Linux, and they haven't made it for Linux yet, so I'm not going to do that. I just kind of use LibreOffice, which is just like Word. So, do whatever works for you. Any word processor that works for you, do it. In either case, kind of do your thing. But you know what? No matter what anybody says, it's totally up to you. Write what works for you. Do what feels good. All right? That's it for this one. If you're going to be notified when the next one drops, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you soon. All right? No excuses. Just write. Peace.